Asked what they thought about Trump labeling them terrorist organizations.
They're responsible for a significant amount of the trafficking. They're telling me we're not like ISIS or the Taliban.
Do Canadians know this is happening?
Yes.
You know, there's always a potential that we send in SOCOM and JSOC units. Do they have any fear of that?
Oh yeah, you secured our southern border? We moved to Canada.
You went down to the cartels, some of the cartel members, and asked what they thought about Trump labeling them terrorist organizations. What was their response to that?
Yeah, so I went to a border region where some members of organized crime spoke with me, and they're responsible for a significant amount of the trafficking and human smuggling operations. And this was right after Trump had officially declared them FTOs, because there was a lot of rhetoric around this previously, and even Texas Governor Greg Abbott had previously declared them FTOs. But now this was real. And this, I had assumed, was going to invoke a lot of fear, especially when it came to the financial pipelines, because that's what this act really attacks, is the cartel's finances. And that's so much worse than putting a bounty on their family members or stopping the flow of drugs. Like, for them, it's the money, freezing financial assets, shutting down their shell companies, whatever it is. And so I wanted to know, because we were seeing so many headlines of how crazy this is and politicians reacting. Okay, but the guys who are really going to face the brunt of this, what's going on? And so I asked them, what do you think about Trump calling you and the people you work with and your networks terrorists? And how is this going to impact you? And it's so funny, because I had anticipated this reaction, but I didn't think they'd actually do it. We don't care. We're just going to wait 4 years. It's not that deep.
Wow.
We're not going to fight them on it. We'll give them what they want to see. And we are not terrorists, because there is a demand for our product. There are drug addicts all across the United States who want what we have to sell. How are we terrorizing them? We're not, literally, they're telling me, like, we're not like ISIS or the Taliban bombing innocent people. We just supply a product that there is a demand for. And if this designation means that we have to hold off for a little while in order to protect our networks, that's exactly what we will do.
Interesting. So what do you think? What is the plan then? Are they going to stop?
That's kind of what's been happening
across the border?
I mean, fentanyl numbers have been going down, but I don't think that's the plan. The plan is to move operations, and I've been reporting on this extensively. It's all happening in Canada now. No one else is clocking it, and it's so obvious. It started during Trump's first administration, when he first started cracking down on the southern border. Cartels knew they could go into Canada and they didn't need a visa like they needed to get into the US. It was just a regular tourist visa. They didn't need to apply for anything or pay for anything. They could just go get their tourist, like have a regular tourist visa the way I come to the United States, set up shop, negotiate and network with pre-existing organized crime groups in Canada, whether that be the Hells Angels, a big one, or Brothers Keepers, or Red Scorpion, or the United Nations gang, and say, hey, look, you guys have incredible access, okay, over 5,000 miles of practically unprotected border into the United States. We can produce this product here and traffic it. Not to mention, a lot of these pre-existing gangs have large Asian populations. And what do we have in Vancouver? The Port of Vancouver. And where are the fentanyl precursors coming in? From China. So you move these precursors, the movement is no longer coming into Mexico. It's coming into Canada. You set up shop, you increase profit. You tell all these guys that are already there, hey, look, if you let us, Sinaloa or Jalisco, in to work with you guys, we're going to quadruple profits.
So wait, you're saying that no more, are you saying in addition to Mexico produce fentanyl, or it's all moved to Canada?
I think the majority has moved to Canada.
The majority of it's moved to Canada?
Yes. I am 99% sure about that, because you can never be 100% sure, but I am so sure about that. Last summer, I wanted to crack down on this story because I had an individual reach out to me who was an operative for the Sinaloa cartel working in Canada, running these labs.
Mm-hmm.
And he showed me the labs that the Sinaloa cartel is operating with.
Physically?
Yeah.
Where are they putting them?
They're putting them in suburban sort of. So they're particularly in the West Coast, in BC and in Alberta, which is like a prairie province. And so there's a lot of farmland and it's residential. And prior to this, it was meth labs that they had running out there. And there would always be like a random meth lab explosion in Abbotsford or, this is like a smaller city. And then these turned into fentanyl labs that were completely under the radar because we also didn't have Canadian law enforcement like patrolling these areas to an extent that they would patrol like a large city like Vancouver or Toronto. So you're bringing in precursors from the Port of Vancouver easily because less than 1% of cargo that comes into the Port of Vancouver is actually inspected by authorities, or
Less than how much?
less than 1%.
Less than 1%?
That is an official number, yes. So the majority of the cargo that's coming into the Port of Vancouver is unmonitored. And you have longshoremen that are on organized crime payroll or turning a blind eye. These precursors are being brought to labs throughout the lower mainland, and they are producing fentanyl there. And it started off as distributing this product throughout Canada because just like the United States, there has been this insatiable appetite for fentanyl in Canada. During the pandemic, more people at one point were dying of fentanyl overdose deaths than from COVID. So that was a major health crisis. And then there's this major crackdown at the southern border. You already have cartel operatives established in the north. You have over 5,000 miles of practically unprotected border. It's Greenland, and you can fly across, you can drive your boat across, you can drive your dirt bike across. And that just left it as open field for these members of organized crime to start to bring their operations to the next level by trafficking everything into the United States. And it's important to keep in mind that Canadian law enforcement knows this is happening. Very aware. Has been aware since around 2017.
Oh, this has been happening since 2017.
It's been happening, since Trump's first, so 2016.
Wow.
This has been, I would say for the past 10 years exactly, is when cartel operatives from Mexico started to move operations into Canada. And law enforcement knows this is happening.
There's always a potential that we send in SOCOM and JSOC units. I mean, do they have any fear of that?
I asked them about that. And they said that if American Special Forces lay their feet on Mexican soil, they will fight till the death because they will have nothing to lose. They will put up a fight. Will they win that fight? No. But they won't go down without a fight because that's all they have. And so if their entire livelihood and their entire business is being attacked, especially by U.S. uniform operators who have every means to just completely squash it, they won't go down like a bitch.
I mean, down to what level, though? You know what I mean?
To the very bottom.
To the very bottom.
Oh, even the local drug
corner.
dealer. Yes, the guy who's a lookout, who's making pennies. When I was in Sinaloa covering this fighting in the fall, the money flow was interrupted for, all levels of people working in it for the cartels. And so main people who, it's like that necessary job that makes no money are the punteros, the lookouts, the guys on their dirt bikes who watch if Mexican forces are coming, they keep the eyes out for whatever's going on. Those guys make the least amount of money. They're making around $500 a month. And when the infighting began and all of this money and resources had to go to, we need to maintain our stronghold and we need to buy arms and stockpile, these punteros were the ones losing out. And so when I was there, once it got dark, I couldn't order Uber Eats to my hotel because these guys were stealing the food from the delivery men because they didn't even have enough money to eat. But they were still working for the cartels. They wouldn't say, okay, you know what, fuck this, I'm going to go and work in a Walmart where I'm at least going to make a steady income. It's not great, but I have something to pay for my basic needs. Because at that point, it's not just about the money. It's indoctrination. It's about being a part of something, feeling powerful, feeling like you've been validated and accepted by the very people who are responsible for thousands of deaths and the war on drugs. They're on the FBI's most wanted posters, and I work for that guy.
I guess it makes sense. I mean,
It makes sense to them. We don't have to understand it.
yeah. Wow. I thought there would be at least a little fear, but doesn't sound like they care at all.
I don't think they do. And based on what I've been told, whether that's what I was told at the border, whether I go and ask in Sinaloa or Jalisco or Michoacan or Guerrero, the consensus remains the same. And the people in charge are treated like gods. They are absolutely praised as if they are the one and only. I mean, that's why we see all the songs about El Mencho, El Chapo, El Mayo. And you can literally go to Sinaloa and buy narco merch. You know, you got the hat with whoever's face on it. You can even buy like religious regalia that is paying homage to narco leaders.
Jeez.
And so the people who work for them praise them. People who don't work for them praise them and want to work for them. So if you're telling this 17-year-old kid who has always wanted to be in this lifestyle, you're going to die for me and American forces are coming in, he'll stand up. He'll probably shit his pants, but he'll do it. He'll put on
Wow.
face.
How many of these labs do you think have been set up in Canada? Do you have any estimation on that?
I don't know exactly how many labs are operating in Canada, but the majority of the labs that are in Canada, which is significant because there is certainly a supply. There is no lack of drugs in Canada or the United States, right? And especially in northern states too, where a lot of these drugs are coming into. I think the majority of them are being run by the cartels. And the interesting thing is you won't really see it in the numbers or in police investigations or press releases because they don't keep track of which criminal organizations are operating what, which labs. So, for example, someone will be arrested. Three men will be arrested for trafficking arms and drugs. They were arrested in a Surrey home in British Columbia, and we found X amount of drugs, X amount of arms, with this amount of street value. They won't say, oh, they were operating on behalf of the Sinaloa cartel. They will say, we found messages in our investigation that they were operating with Mexican associates. And some people will then subsequently be charged and they'll be Mexican nationals living in Canada. Those guys are working for the cartels. But Canadian authority doesn't keep track, or at least not publicly, of who is working with exactly which criminal organization. And I think that also does play a role in allowing the cartels to flourish over there because they can operate so entirely under the radar. I mean, here in the US, for the first time a few weeks ago, a woman in El Paso was arrested for particularly working as a straw buyer for CJ&G.
Do Canadians know this is happening?
Well, if they read my reporting, they know now. I mean, Kash Patel, director of the FBI, is now saying it publicly. He just said that they're coming in through the port of Vancouver. They're producing fentanyl. The fentanyl is coming from Canada because they haven't secured the northern border. And when I initially started reporting on this, and I was reaching out to RCMP and reaching out to CSIS and putting out my contact, everyone was telling me, no, you're wrong. This can't be. And RCMP was telling me, we have no evidence to show that local criminal organizations are working directly with cartels. But I met with cartel associates in Canada showing me the production, telling me how they're doing it. And it goes back to what you asked me. Why are they telling me this? Because they want to show you exactly how they're operating under the radar. They're so tough. And oh yeah, you secured our southern border? Fuck you. We moved to Canada.